The Luali celestial dynasty in the east, the Star Empire in the south, the United Kingdom in the west, and the Hanhai dynasty in the north are the four directions. Beyond the vast ocean is a holy land. In the four directions, surrounded by mountains, Tianji Mountain has misty clouds and mist, and there is Tianji Pavilion that predicts major events in the world, which is respected. Among the holy places, the temple has a transcendent status. It is a place that people all over the world are fascinated by. It is holy. The saints reflect each other from afar, ensuring the eternal prosperity of the holy places in all directions. Today is an important day for the Holy Land in all directions. The old and new masters of Tianji Pavilion have been replaced. People from all over the world are invited to come and witness. At the top of Tianji Peak, tens of thousands of guests from all over the world gathered, all focusing on the altar at the end of the red carpet. On the altar, a girl in a snow-white silk skirt, with her hair like a waterfall of black hair, was meticulously bowing to the heaven and earth 3 times and 9 times, looking peaceful and pious. Blood sacrifice God's plate. Listen to the secrets of heaven. As soon as the master of ceremonies chanted, a servant made a cut in the girl's outstretched palm. Seeing the blood overflowing, the girl stood up and stepped onto the huge 10-meter square Bagua divine plate, dripping the blood into the eyes of the yin-yang fish. It wasn't until the huge Bagua disc glowed red that the girl sat down in the middle of a pair of yin and yang fish eyes and listened quietly to the secrets of heaven. At this time, the whole place was silent, and even the heartbeats of hundreds of thousands of people suddenly weakened, for fear of missing the great prophecy of Tianji Pavilion that happens once every 10 years. You must know that since the establishment of Tianji Pavilion for thousands of years, the great prophecies of Tianji every 10 years have been fulfilled without fail. For example, more than 100 years ago, Tianji Pavilion predicted the replacement of imperial power in the east. A few years later, the Luo Li dynasty aspired to dominate the east. 20 years ago, Tianji Pavilion predicted that infant blood would spread everywhere, so 1 year later all the babies born on the same day or even at similar times were massacred. Today, what kind of prophecy will the newly appointed young lady pavilion master of Tianji Pavilion bring? Everyone waited quietly, not daring to take a breath. After a long time, white clouds suddenly gathered in the blue sky, covering tens of thousands of miles around Tianji Mountain in an instant. Dazzling golden light shot out from the clouds and hit the girl's eyebrows. Puff! Blood spurted out from the girl's mouth, and her face turned as pale as snow. It took a long time to calm down the surge of energy and blood. She stood up and raised a faint smile. Combined with her exquisite and unparalleled face, her pale face, and the dazzling red at the corner of her mouth, it was shocking. Seeing the scene, everyone's hearts trembled. This prophecy might not be a good thing. Since ancient times, beauties have had bad luck. Now that I, Bo Honyan, have succeeded me as the head of Tianji Pavilion, I am afraid that beauties are really unlucky. While everyone was calculating, a cold voice sounded, but it also spread into everyone's heart with internal force. She prides herself on her beauty, but talks about her unlucky life. Although her tone is calm and cold, it also contains self-deprecating helplessness. There is no time to sigh. This young pavilion master has deep inner strength. There was no time to take a closer look at how this new pavilion master still dared to call himself Bo Hanyan after all the Bo people in the world were wiped out. Just based on his words alone, the secret they heard this time was probably worse than they thought. Please tell me quickly what kind of secrets the pavilion master has listened to. A voice sounded from not far away from the altar with a rather urgent tone. Everyone's eyes were focused, and many people recognized the person, but they didn't say much due to his identity. However, someone with the same identity shouted out, "His Majesty Luo Li is so anxious that he even dares to question the master of Tianji Pavilion. What a great majesty!" His Majesty Luo Li naturally noticed the reproachful gazes of the people in the room, and after hearing the merciless rebuke from His Majesty Lianhe, who had always been unfaithful, he immediately apologized. I'm just outspoken. If you have any questions, just say it. Master Tianji Pavilion has a lot of people, so please don't worry about it. With his side hand slightly clasping his fist towards the beauty on the altar, His Majesty Luo Li stopped talking. Chapter 2, A Fatal Beauty, a Great Prophecy too. But how could the Hongyan who was involved be deceived by him? She could see the perfunctory apology to him and the resentment towards His Majesty the Union from the corner of her eyes. However, Hongyan could really see it. I am afraid that I am also resentful towards myself. After all, I have made the aloof His Majesty Luo Li lose face in front of the people of the world. But so what? Anyway, everything is destined by God. There is no escape from the cycle of cause and effect. However, Hongyan did not expose His Majesty Luo Li's little thoughts. But how could the grand ceremony of Tianji Pavilion allow a small emperor to be arrogant? Hongyan chuckled, but her tone was sharp and full of warning. For thousands of years, my Tianji Pavilion has been predicting world affairs, and no one has ever interrupted me. Was His Majesty Luo Li so anxious and outspoken 10 years ago? As soon as these words came out, everyone in the audience turned to look at His Majesty Luo Li with gloating eyes. Tianji Pavilion towers over the four directions, and the Holy Land Temple is an existence that cannot be shaken at all. Who dares to challenge its majesty? What's more, who doesn't know that Tianji Pavilion and the Holy Temple have a very good relationship, and their actions have always been unified? His Majesty Luo Li was dripping with cold sweat at this time, and his whole plump body was trembling. He wanted to stand up and apologize, but he couldn't stand up at all, so he fell to the ground, and his words were already full of tears. Please forgive me, Pavilion Master. I have no intention of provoking Tianji Pavilion. Please forgive me, Pavilion Master. Please forgive me, Pavilion Master. After begging and begging, His Majesty Luo Li finally knelt on the ground and kept kowtowing, unable to stop at all. As one of the overlords of the four parties, he was in the first row to watch the ceremony, and all the guests could see clearly. But the beauty still just chuckled lightly, waved her hand gently, lifted up the snow-white sleeves and twirled them, showing a detached indifference, as if she was a fairy from the 9 heavens, and ordinary people like His Majesty Luo Li didn't even notice her. That's all. I'll spare you the death penalty. His Majesty Luo Li's heart skipped a beat. Is asking a question a capital offense? He is even more tyrannical than his 95-year-old master. However, one still has to shed tears of gratitude in order to save face. Otherwise, just because of the people's admiration for the fortune teller of Tianji Pavilion, each of these hundreds of thousands of guests could drown him with just a spit of spit. Thank you, Pavilion Master, for not killing. Thank you, Pavilion Master, for not killing. While thanking and kowtowing, others could not see His Majesty's pride at all. Hongyan chuckled again and waved her sleeves. His Majesty Luo Li only felt a gentle force lift him up and let him sit down. He was suddenly horrified. This kind of internal strength could only be rivaled by the guardian national masters of the Luo Li celestial dynasty, who came out of the Holy Land in the early years. If you want to kill yourself, I'm afraid it won't take much effort. His Majesty Luo Li secretly rejoiced. Fortunately, he didn't go too far. If he really confessed to Tianji Peak, no one in Luo Li's dynasty would say a word for him, and they might even make intensive preparations for the new emperor's enthronement. He has only been on the throne for 15 years, but this emperor has not done enough. It seemed that he had to quickly prepare gifts and apologize after returning. Although the new pavilion master was a girl, he was not someone he could mess with. He could only be careful to please him and not embarrass him too much. No one knows what His Majesty Luo Li is thinking, and no one dares to say a word about his behavior. After all, the new master of Tianji Pavilion has already let him go. Who dares to get into trouble again? Seeing that no one said anything, Hongyan raised her hands and bowed to the sky. Given by God, I predict the rise and fall of blessings and misfortunes in the world, communicate them to the world, and prevent dangers before they happen. After saying this, Hongyan paused for a moment. The slight smile on her face disappeared, and she looked into the distance with a solemn expression. The atmosphere at the scene suddenly condensed, and everyone became serious unconsciously, quietly waiting for the great prophecy that happens once every 10 years. Chapter 3, A Fateful Beauty, A Great Prophecy 3. She told all the secrets in one breath, with a smile as warm as the sun still hanging on her beautiful face, as if the chaos in the sky had nothing to do with her. Just the chuckle at the corner of his lips gradually deepened, captivating the eyes of a group of people who didn't care about the power struggle among the four parties. After saying that, regardless of the reactions of the guests, the beauty walked lightly on the red carpet and left. God's will is like this. Let's see you compete in the world. I just want to appease the countless innocent souls. That's good. There will be great chaos in the sky, and the four directions will be unified. The change of imperial power, the beginning of the East. Starting from the East, imperial power changed, dynasties changed, and the four directions were unified. Who will be the emperor of the four directions? His Majesty Dongfang Luoli had not yet come out of the shadow of offending Tianji Pavilion, but he was hit in the head by the change of imperial power, the beginning of Dongfang, and was knocked unconscious. The other three majesties exchanged glances with each other. Since ancient times, power in the East has changed most frequently. Now that the Luoli celestial dynasty can only be established for 100 years, another round of reshuffling will happen which will actually affect all three of them. It's better to make plans in advance. With such a prediction, the world is bound to be in chaos, and it is obvious that the distinguished guests from all over the world will make big moves when they return. Since Hongyan got such a prophecy a month ago, she has forgotten all this. But as the master of the Tianji Pavilion, can she stay out of the chaotic world? Hongyan won't. Never, 15 years after she was born, the meaning of her existence has never been to stay out of it. Since Luo Li's imperial preceptor divined that a baby born on the same day as her would subvert the imperial power, all the babies in the world who were born about 1 month ago on that day were brutally massacred. Since His Majesty Luo Li tried every means to get rid of the Bo clan with great military exploits and allowed the courtiers to falsely accuse the Bo clan of collaborating with the enemy and treason, so that all her clansmen with the same surname were massacred and killed on the spot, and there was no longer a person with the Bo surname in the Holy Land in all directions. Although I did not see the babies being killed with my own eyes, I saw with my own eyes the rivers of blood flowing from the massacre. The resentment that never rests in peace turns into the unwillingness to let go of evil spirits. How many times in the middle of the night have dreams come back and the beauty is awakened? In his previous life, he was the guardian of national secrets who traveled thousands of miles alone. In this life, he was destined to be a lonely star, inherit destiny, divine secrets, and predict the world. Just let her live as she pleases. Live for the brothers and sisters born around the same day. Live for the people with the same surname. As long as she lives, Neichi will celebrate her birthday and celebrate the birthday of all her brothers and sisters who died in vain at birth. As long as she is alive, her clan will not be exterminated, and her family will surely be redressed, and its loyal reputation will be passed down through the ages. All the preparations she had made in the past 15 years were for the beginning of today. From today on, those who have a grudge against her will wait for her to settle their grievances. Hongyan returned to the room, hugged her knees, and leaned on the couch, taking a deep breath to stabilize her mind. Looking at his increasingly crystal clear fingers, the skin, flesh, and bones are becoming more transparent every moment, as if they will disappear at any time. After a long time, Hongyan finally sighed. It's just, how long can I live? Can you live to see the four directions reunited and the world at peace? In 15 years, without deliberately cultivating internal strength, he has reached the peak of the 8th level that ordinary people cannot reach until death. She doesn't need the heavenly secret disc or the Bhagwa divine disc, but she can still understand everything in the world. He is talented and intelligent, and is good at playing piano, chess, calligraphy, and painting. However, his medical skills were mediocre, and he couldn't even solve a headache or fever, let alone break the restrictions of his special three-in body and save his life. Are you really going to be a miserable beauty again? Hongyan asked herself again, feeling very helpless. Unexpectedly, a deep voice sounded stiffly from the bead curtain of the bedroom. Can't I? Who? Chapter 4. Before you win against me, you are mine one. There was a slight pause, but firm words, accompanied by the flick of the black brocade robe. The black hair is tied up with a hairpin crown. The cold color hides the stunning beauty. The phoenix eyes are condensed with a hint of spirit, and the young master is flawless. Hongyan looked up and was inevitably surprised. After that, I just felt that the man in front of me was like the scorching sun in winter, burning with warmth. His pure Yin physique, extremely Yin soul, and ultimate Yin internal strength, these three giants all screamed. He screamed and fought to the death with the person in front of him, competing to the death. Destroy his warmth and freeze his soul. Feeling that she was out of control, Hongyan took a deep breath and quickly crossed her legs to adjust her breathing, trying to calm her restlessness. However, the three forces are rampant in the body, and the independent consciousness seems to have become a bystander. Roll. Hongyan spoke with difficulty, and an extremely dark and cold internal force attacked Shen Yuaning. Shen Yuanying's situation is not much better than Hongyan's. How can the inner strength of the most strong and the most young allow the arrogance of the most Yin and the cold? Doesn't it mean that as long as you have sex with a woman who is both Yin and soft, the harm caused to your body by being strong and yang can be resolved? Can both sides escape the shackles of short life? Doesn't it mean that practicing double cultivation with a Jin woman can also improve the internal strength of both parties? Why are they so incompatible after just meeting? But what's going on with the overwhelming urge to conquer? Think it, do it. This is the purpose that Shen Yuan film has always adhered to. Woman, give it to me. Shen Yuan immediately hugged Hongyan, pressed his tall body on Hongyan, and spoke domineeringly with a sexy and hoarse voice. Asshole, let go. Hongyan, who was always smiling, became angry and punched and kicked Nangong Yi. Why did this man pounce on her out of nowhere? Have you never seen a woman in 8 lifetimes? Shen Yuan ignored Hongyan's movements. For him, this level was nothing more than scratching an itch. Now he just wants to conquer this woman who makes his blood boil when he meets her. The kiss fell impartially on their red lips. Shen Yuan only felt that he had eaten a piece of ice. Although the face held in his hands was impeccably exquisite, it was like a beautiful ice sculpture, cold and breakable at the touch of a touch, which made him become more gentle unconsciously. It's hard to imagine that a woman with a 3-in body could be so warm. It's actually more difficult than his 3-yang body. However, the temperature that the volcano erupts in, the thing he is least afraid of is the ice. All he has to do is melt the ice into water. Then the kiss became more passionate. Hongyan only felt that her whole body was wrapped in flames, as if she would turn into ashes if she was not careful. And the anger had reached its peak, and he used his almost unearned 8th level internal power to deliver a peak blow. However, the man on his body was still kissing him passionately, and his attack seemed as if he had never made a move before. The internal power was concentrated in his hands, and he was bombarding Shen Yuanying's chest for free. But Shen Yuanying regarded it as nothing, and Hongyan was helpless. What kind of monster did she meet? But it doesn't matter. What she is best at is assassination. The most fortunate thing is that Shen Yuanying's chest cannot restrain his hands. The dagger slipped silently from his palm and bit Shen Yuanying, who was focused on grinding his lips. Blood overflowed from their mouths, and Xian Yuaning opened his eyes. There was a hint of appreciation in his deep black eyes, but Hongyan saw more of a tease to tease the prey. Slender fingers touched Hongyan's lips that were red from her own taste. Seeing the hint of triumphant arrogance on Hongyan's warm and jade-like face, Xian Yuaning pursed her sexy thin lips slightly, creating a seductive arc. "Kill me or I'll rape you." But his words were just like his kiss, domineering and arrogant, unable to refuse or resist. It turned out that Xian Yuaning had already noticed Hongyan's little move of taking out the dagger. Chapter 5. Before you win against me, you are mine too. Encourage yourself to kill him? How confident are you in yourself that you encourage others to kill you? Or do you underestimate your opponent and don't believe that others can cause harm to him? Hongyan sighed inwardly, fearing that she had both. In the eyes of this man, she was probably just an ant, and it would be effortless to crush her to death. Even though she knew that she was trying to beat the chariot, Hongyan was not going to give up. Even if there is only one chance in a million, Hongyan will fight for herself and never give herself up to such a creature that thinks in its lower body. The dagger was directed at Xian Yuanying's most vulnerable part. Such a vicious and cunning attack made Xian Yuanying only sway slightly before dodging away. Kejuan's face was already as dark as ink. A man's most basic dignity, how could Xian Yuanying allow others to provoke him, even if it was the woman in front of him who was a perfect match for him? He started to grab her, but he didn't expect that Hongyan, who had failed to hit her, had quickly retreated. The two finally came face to face, one with a dark, handsome face, the other with murderous intent. Just looking at each other, Hongyan started a new round of attacks. The angle was more tricky than before, and it was really fatal when used on ordinary people. Unfortunately, the opponent was Xian Yuanying, who was much higher level than Hongyan. After hundreds of moves, Hongyan was out of breath, and her movements to avoid Xian Yuanying's attempts to imprison her were already very stiff, but she did not intend to surrender. No matter the past life or the present, in her eyes, men are just lower body animals who use sweet words to coax innocent girls. Even if they are silk and penniless, they are constantly dreaming of having as many beauties around their knees as possible so that they can sit and enjoy the blessings of everyone. A man as single-minded as the master is definitely a rare animal. Therefore, in 2 lifetimes, no man appeared in the beauty's life plan. Therefore, Hongyan will not give in, especially to this creature that she despises so much. The dagger was still fast and fierce, but it had no accuracy when facing Xian Yuanying. Another 100 rounds passed. Hongyan was almost exhausted, and Xian Yuanying was obviously like a cat teasing a mouse, and had lost his patience. With one hand, he grabbed Hongyan's hand that was holding the dagger tightly to the point of stiffness, easily snatched the dagger and threw it away, while the other hand hugged Hongyan's waist again. "Woman, you are too weak. You are mine until you defeat me." Having made the decision without permission, Xian Yuanying tightened his iron arms around Hongyan's waist, as if to vent his anger. It felt as if Hongyan's waist was about to break. The kisses also began to plunder like a violent storm. Hongyan really didn't have the strength to break free anymore, and of course, she might not be able to break free even when she was full of energy. So Hongyan used all her strength on her teeth, biting Xian Yuanying's lips and tongue desperately. Xian Yuanying resisted for several rounds, but had to let go of Hongyan's lips and silently swallowed a mouthful of blood. It would be a blasphemy for his blood to flow in such a barren place. Xian Yuanying, whose last bit of patience had been worn away, once again exerted some strength with his iron arm, which made it difficult for Hongyan to breathe. But Hongyan was so stubborn that she looked at Xian Yuanying. The man in front of her looked like a human being. He shouldn't have any special hobbies, right? Why not give it a try? Maybe it's an opportunity to escape. Let go, otherwise all you will get is my body. Sure enough, after hearing this, Xian Yuanying's X-ray gaze was fixed on Hongyan's eyes, as if he wanted to see through the thoughts in Hongyan's brain circuit. Time passed by minute by second, and Hongyan was a little frightened, But Xian Yuaning finally let go of Hong Yan. Next time, I want the body too. After saying that, Xian Yuaning disappeared, leaving only the firm tone of these words in the air. Chapter 6. She is a woman after all, so she must be stingy one. Hong Yan slumped down on the ground with some exhaustion. After a succession ceremony, who are the people invited? Isn't this setting yourself on fire? The four directions have always been under her control. She has never heard of such a person. It seems to come from the Holy Land. Although Tianji Pavilion and the Holy Land's temple are both respected by the world, Tianji Pavilion is admired for its ability to predict destiny, while the temple is truly powerful. In terms of strength, Tianji Pavilion is probably only at the middle to lower level in the Holy Land. It seems that the trip to the Holy Land has to be put on the agenda. Otherwise, it would be bad to cause unnecessary trouble in the process of unifying the four parties. Tuck, done. While Hong Yan was thinking, there was a knock on the door. What's the matter? Hong Yan stood up with her knees in hand, straightened her clothes, and sat on the sofa beside her. She glanced at her more transparent palms and responded feebly. Alas, it seems that it would be better to use less internal energy in the future. Master, what's wrong with you? Shuru, one of the 6 personal maids outside the door, heard something was wrong in Hong Yan's voice and carefully opened the door. She happened to see Hong Yan hiding her hands in her sleeves. Thinking of Hong Yan's possible situation, Shuru had tears in her eyes. Seeing Hong Yan smiling softly at herself, Shura held back her tears, covered her mouth, turned around, and rushed out the door. Hong Yan was helpless. She thought she was fast enough, but she was still spotted by the sharp-eyed girl. That girl must have gone to see her senior brother. In the coming days, the miserable pills will be delivered to her mouth 3 times a day at regular intervals. Just thinking about 3 meals a day, another maid, Yuhan, came in with meals. Master, it doesn't matter if His Majesty Sifang sees her or not. Shui Rou has gone to deal with it. You can enjoy your meal in peace. Let Shui Rou know that she is gone, and you still look at her with affection. That shameless girl will be shy. While Yuhan was serving dishes to Hong Yan, she jokingly advised Hong Yan not to worry too much. How did she know that Shuru was not going to deal with the matter that His Majesty Sifang asked for an audience with? Go and take His Majesty Dongfang Luoli to the side hall. I'll go see you after dinner. After listening to Yuhan's words, Hong Yan realized that Shuru had just come to report to His Majesty the 4 directions for an audience. After thinking about it for a moment, she decided to meet His Majesty Luo Li alone, who had not been respectful to her before. After all, Tianji predicts that everything begins in East. It just so happened that she also felt that the East would be a good start. Okay. Master, please take it easy. I'll go and invite you. Yuhan glanced at Hong Yan, who had not opened her mouth to eat for a long time. She frowned slightly, but quickly restrained herself and left as if she had no choice but to give in. Hong Yan naturally noticed Yuhan's expression, and she was very pleased to see Yuhan's unobtrusive back after leaving. The 6 personal maids were all picked up by her when she was young and traveled around with her master. Now they are all able to take charge of themselves, and they are even more devoted to themselves. Although they are masters and servants in name, they are also their closest relatives. If it weren't for them, Hong Yan's journey would have been long gone. Thinking of these girls, Hong Yan felt that the food was very delicious. She filled her stomach elegantly and quickly, and then slowly walked towards the side hall. Master, this is His Majesty Dongfang Luoli, Celestial Dynasty. Yuhan, who was entertaining His Majesty Luoli, saw Hong Yan approaching, went up to greet her, made a brief introduction, helped Hong Yan return to the main seat, and stood quietly behind Hong Yan. Your Majesty Luoli, feel free to say whatever you want. This is not the first time we have met, so there is no need to be reserved. As soon as Hong Yan opened her mouth, His Majesty Luo Li broke out in a cold sweat. The new pavilion master had not forgotten his collision at the ceremony. After all, he was a woman and was stingy.